Around the Kid with Joe Kansas.
And now your host, Joe Gansas.
Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome back to Around the Kids video live stream show. Today, Sunday, June 12th, 2022. We have another tremendous show for you tonight, and thank you for always checking out. If you'd be so kind enough to hit that like and subscribe button right away and that notification bell so we can give you the best shows in the future. Tonight, we are celebrating the city of Nashville with tremendous drummers. We have a round table that, unfortunately, up to a minute ago, is now down to one person. Troy Luccketta will be calling in at about 8:10 Eastern Time. A couple other guys, Rich Redmond and Ken Slusher, had emergency gigs, and Rich is at a gig. He couldn't call in, but we appreciate that time. We'll get them on in the future. So the great Troy Luccketta, we'll get to more than just a round table. We'll talk about what's going on in his life now, about 8:10. And our main guest tonight, the first time on the show, the newcomer, tremendous drumming talent, originally from Syracuse, New York, the great David Northrup, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and a veteran to the show, a good friend of mine, the great Tom Hurst, in the 9:30 p.m. Eastern spot. So we're just pumped up to be here again. It's our second live show on YouTube, and we're still sorting things out. Every week is getting better. It's like everything in life. You have to get at it and, give it a go, as Nigo McBrain says. Give it a go, mate. So we're back tonight, live, pumped up to be here, and celebrating these great Nashville drummers. Around the Kid had the pleasure about 6 years ago of being invited by Tom Hurst and Dave Parks for their yearly Nashville Drummers Benefit, where they honor a certain drummer. They've done about 13 of them. I was honored to do my show live in Nashville, honoring the great Steve Smith. All these great drummers. Rich Redmond was there. Ben Caesar was there. All these big top guys in the country music honoring Steve Smith. And they would come up and play a song. And after the song, I would interview them. So it was a great night. And they really opened up to me, inviting me. And I've always felt this cool connection in Nashville. It's a great town. And the guys who run that, Tom Hurst, of course, and Dave Parks, the Nashville Drummers Jam, very special group, fraternity there in Nashville. Great drummers, great educators who just love to invent themselves even more in the whole business. Very comforting in a way, as long as, interviewing people, and they love to engage themselves. We had a great time. So tonight we'll be celebrating with three of the best in Nashville. Great town, and it's a great music town, and just proud to have these drummers on the show. Big connection with them. We've had about 35 to 40 drummers on the show, and we're going to have more on this new video live stream. So we thank them for their time tonight. We're looking forward to these great interviews. Looking forward tonight to David Northrup, great drummer. Followed him for about 5 months now. Solid as they come. We'll talk about his album he just released called Shapes. And we'll get to Tom Hurst, and we'll have Troy Luccketta on in the drum table, the round table. But just love to be back. And we're doing so much behind the scenes. We're going to be doing some sponsor videos now. If you're out there watching this and you do want to become part of a sponsor on the show, hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Joe Gans on Around the Kid. Hit us up if you want to. Yeah. And don't forget, always try to click that subscribe and link and the notification bell. We can bring you the best shows. Just love this new platform. It gives you a chance to see me and the videos and everybody. So it's we're very excited to be here tonight once again. Wanted to talk a little bit about what's coming up on Around the Kid. We got shows into September, but a couple of shows we have after tonight. Our next show, June 26th, in 2 weeks from today. I'm calling it the Legends Show. Liberty DeVito. I had Liberty on Dom Famularo's tribute show, but it's actually Liberty's first interview full length on Around the Kid. He'll be on the show June 26th, and a legend in the world of metal, most notably Judas Priest, Les Binks. So we got two legends on that show. Excited to have them again. July 10th, two guys that have actually become real good friends. One guy is the other guy's idol. Joe Franco at 8:30 is John Macalusso's idol. So we got them both on the same show. Just really cool to have them together. You know, both of them. So we got some great shows coming up. And if I can go one more, and that's good for now. We have a big Simon Phillips tribute coming up in August. But we're just doing, just pumped to be here as always. Always great to come to you live. And if you watch the show and listen to the show the last 7 years, some shows like to edit their stuff, and that's great. I like the whole live feel. Live is good and bad, because live, you can make some mistakes, but I like the mistakes that time. I really do. It's part of life. You know, what is perfect in life? Nothing. We hope tonight will be a good show. I might make a mistake. We'll see what happens. You know, we'll just go with it. Just happy to be here. Let's take a time now, a little moment, to get to our main sponsor, who's been just great to us, the tremendous Centent Cymbals. Around the Kid is sponsored by Centent Cymbals. Centent Cymbals is quickly becoming the choice for drummers worldwide. With their roots going back to the emperors of the Qing dynasty, Centent blends the best of old world know-how with modern techniques to help all drummers find the best fit for them. Whether you're an avid drumming enthusiast or touring professional, Centent has the perfect combination of products, pricing, and service to fit any drummer's needs. Contact them today to find out what the drum love is really all about. Centent Cymbals. Forge your sound.
Back to Around the Kid with Joe Gansas.
We are back live. Happy to have the round table once again. And the round table this morning, it started out as three guys. We're now down to one guy. Rich Redmond is at a festival. He had no Wi-Fi. So let's bring on the guy that's going to spend 15 minutes with me and talk about drums. A legend in the world of drumming, and not only a legend, a great player. I've had him on the show several times, but one of the nicest human beings you can come across in drums. We welcome back the tremendous Troy Luccketta. What is up, brother?
Joe, that is quite an introduction. Thank you, man. I appreciate that very much. A lot, man. How you been? It's been a while.
We are pumped. It's the first time we see each other, man. And I want to say thank you, bro, before we get started. You've always given me honesty, and you've always kept it real. You've given me so much over the last 5 years, a couple of times on the show, and I want to say thank you, brother.
Well, the pleasure's all mine, man, and that's truly what it's all about, right? I mean, just being honest and sincere and transparent, and not trying to be anything other than that, really.
Right. There's no facade with Troy Luccketta. It's what you get. I like that.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Let's get to the question, and then we'll see what's going on in your world, and everything you're doing is great stuff. My question to you tonight, anything you've done in drums, whether it was live, in the studio, a session, recording, we all at times, myself, all the drummers at times, we have that temptation at times, Troy, that temptation when you have a song that just needs a main beat, just a 4/4 beat, but there's the temptation to maybe throw some double bass or throw something in there, throw a cool feel. How do you combat that? How do you resist that temptation at times, Troy Luccketta, to not do too much?
Quite honestly, that's a real simple, easy question for someone like myself, because for me, it's always about the music. The music always dictates what I'm doing and how I approach it. And if I feel there's an opportunity for some creativity, I'll go there. But for the most part, I'm going to respond to the song. The one particular song that comes to mind when I think of just staying in that space would probably be Heaven's Trail. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the track, but it's quite honestly, I mean, people used to really like reference that song because I'm opening the downbeat on the quarters, with the hi hat, and I quite honestly, I got it from Tony Thompson.
Okay.
I mean, Tony Thompson was doing it, and that's where it came from. But it's funny how people just seem to think like that was my thing, and really it wasn't. And
Have you been in situations where you found yourself in the thought process, Troy, of wanting to overthink at times in that situation?
uh, you know, um, it's interesting. The first 10 years of Tesla, which is pretty much the bulk of what people know me for. Um, and in that 10 years, I was just being myself, doing my thing. I don't think anybody ever said one thing what I should do. I just was me. And I had that freedom to just be me at the time in those 10 years, just to develop my parts. Um, I, again, I mean, I never was given it too much thought about what was happening. I am aware of something that did happen that would be relative to what you're speaking about,
Hmm.
which the second record um, that we did, Great Radio Controversy. And quite honest, what song is it? Is it Flight to Nowhere? I forget the name of the song even. I apologize. I'd have to go look at it. But there was this double bass part, and I don't know if you can hear my feet. Can you hear that?
Sure, sure.
So I would go. Bang, 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 bang. So but when
Yeah,
I was doing that, when I played it, did that come across? Could you hear it?
I heard it. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So point being, I had put this double bass pedal. I was always single. I've been a single guy my whole life,
Hmm.
and that's kind of just my thing. It came from, it started with Bono, but really it was Leonard Hayes, the original drummer
Ah,
from Y&T.
Y&T. Yeah, love it.
Huge,
Yeah.
huge fan of Leonard's. I mean, I followed that guy everywhere,
Yeah.
and I was watching him and Y&T before the first album came out. I grew up in that space, in that
Right.
area, and Leonard for me changed my life. Matter of fact, I bought my double bass red acrylic drums, and after I seen him, I got rid of the other bass drum because I wasn't a double bass player,
Right, right,
and,
right.
and he really without even knowing, it made me realize just where my focus was.
Hmm.
But coming back, and I had never played a double bass since then, and then that was back in. I mean, I seen them probably. I was 15. What was it? 1977.
Wow,
I
nice.
mean, we're going way back, which
Yeah,
is
sure.
giving my age a little bit. Point being, on the second record, for some reason, I had this double pedal. I pulled it out. I had it on the drum kit, and I remember I came up with that part, and it felt really good. But I started playing these songs, and it's so funny because actually, this is actually a really great question, and now I'm bringing it back home because this did happen to me. And I was playing, and I remember playing, and the next thing I know, I was starting to throw this stuff in with my feet, and I realized just how crazy and unmusical I was being at this time. So what I did, I just reached down, I took the double pedal, I took it off, and I just threw it out of the way. I put my single pedal back on, and I could get back to playing the music because
Right,
it really did interrupt my frame of thinking and how I was thinking, because all of a sudden I had this double pedal, and now
right.
I'm trying to pull off these double pedal parts, which I sucked at anyway.
I, I think watching over the years live and hearing you, I think you probably always had full autonomy in what you do, full control. And I think of a song that you bring up, Bonham, Edison's Medicine. Is that the name? Yeah. You just tear it up, brother. I mean, boom, 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 boom. Oh, it's great. Talk to me about stuff like that where you didn't have a temptation. You just went.
Well, the nice thing about those first 10 years is that probably wouldn't have happened later.
Right.
At the time we were just doing what we were doing. Nobody was in the way of each other.
Yeah.
We were playing music. We were doing our thing. Brian, I would come up with some parts here and there. And we were just playing music. And, I remember when that whole thing came up and I just kind of could feel that energy where it wanted to go and break it up.
Mhm.
And there wasn't any resistance. And my point is, I think today, in today's world, the way things are, knowing Tesla and the way the band is in the present, I feel it probably would be a problem, because it might not have been received, because everybody, after the breakup in 96, we stopped for 96 to 2000. We got back together for a show in 2000, which is just never stopped and kept going. And we made some records in this meantime, but everybody had gotten drum machines. Brian had a drum machine. Frank had a drum machine. Jeff even had a drum machine. So they would get used to programming. And then when we were going back in, the challenge I was having is like, hey, could you play this bass drum here? Or, you started getting those kinds of thoughts. And you want to welcome those thoughts because there's a lot of good ideas and floating around. But I'm just thankful for the first 10 years where I didn't have any of that going on.
Guys, we are joined by the legend, Troy Luccketta. I got one more question before I let you go, brother, and I thank you for your time always. Talking about temptation and stuff, talk to me about how is there pride sometimes, because you've been doing it a long time, is there pride sometimes where you say to maybe even a producer or somebody, I don't really want to be told what to do today, or
No.
does that come into the whole process?
No. See, what's beautiful? The first 10 years, I mean, I'm just me.
Yeah.
I already
Yeah.
know who I am. And moving forward and welcoming all ideas, I might have had a different thought or a different idea, but at that time when people are jumping in, you want to be respectful.
Sure.
I could be really, I could have been, stronger in some of the things that I felt, the way I felt about it, but ultimately it really came down to, what everybody was feeling at that point.
Yeah.
Like I said, the first 10 years, nobody really was saying anything. And later those things have changed. The last record we did, Shock, I went in with, I don't know if you're aware, but Phil Collins from Def Leppard produced that record.
Mm-hmm.
And when we recorded that record, they had recorded the demo. We recorded the demos. It just had some drum machines. Some of it didn't have anything. And when I went in with Phil, I didn't want to have any pretentious about what I thought or what I was going to record. I hadn't listened to anything. I stayed out of the way. I went in fresh with him. We were doing 3 songs a day, and we worked together, and it was really great. I felt I still had honored some of the thoughts and ideas that was there, but I still had some freedom to express myself and be creative. So, and I think that's that happy medium. And if you're working with a producer and he wants it this way, you need to defer to what he wants, because that's why he's hiring you. I have no dog in the fight. I don't have an ego about what it is I can or can't do, or what it is I think I should do.
Right.
It's really whatever ultimately serves the song is what I should be playing.
You sent me some stuff today in the text. What's going on with everything you're doing right now?
Well, there's a lot of awesome things. I'm shooting a video next week with I don't even know Salon's last name. I'm sorry. So this guy, Brian Hardgroove, he's from the band Public Enemy.
Okay.
And this guy, Salon from Chic, and he was also in Sting's band and Adele and Rihanna, and he's been around. And the 3 of us have a band called Resonant Alien. And the song we are shooting the video for is called United We Stand. It's for the children. Save the Children for Ukraine. It's an awareness.
Nice.
It's coming out in July. I think they got Pink Floyd and a bunch of artists on it. It's not a live concert. We're sending in our video and our song. But they're putting it together like a concert. That's what that link is I sent you.
Right.
the other thing I'm doing, I'm in the middle of about 4 records right now. And just recently I went and played with, it's really cool because I've just kind of opened myself having some time off to be able to do the things that I'm doing right now.
Right.
And I just went and played a show with the Guess Who. I got called on a Monday. I learned the show Tuesday and Wednesday here at home. I jumped on a plane Thursday and played Vegas Friday, which was really awesome because I grew up with a lot of that music and the things that you may or may not know about me, the things, I've run, everything from Doris Day to Keith Emerson. And I say that very humbly, and that was probably one of my greatest achievements, probably with Keith, but Brad Whitford from Aerosmith and myself and Derek St. Holmes from Ted Nugent, we did a record called Whitford St. Holmes. We went out and I talked to Brad the other day and that was pretty exciting. So there's some possibilities of us doing some stuff together again. I go out and I play with this Van Halen band called Completely Unchained.
Nice.
They've invited me. I got the Zeppelin thing I'm doing. I've got a Bonham kit in the back. I'm just kind of reinventing myself and taking some time to really, I'm in a James Taylor tribute, a classic rock tribute. So I'm still trying to figure this thing out. You know what I'm saying? I am nowhere near where I want to be as a player and the things that I want to do. But ultimately, I'm having a lot of fun being John Bonham or Alex Van Halen because that's who I want to be. I don't want to be Troy Luccketta doing the gig. I want to be. So it's a lot of fun because I'm just continuing to learn and dig a little deeper in those areas. And I had never done any Van Halen stuff. I got called to do that, and I was like, well, man, hot for teacher. I go, I don't even know if I could play that thing. So I'm sitting in here. Hang on a second. And I have I've got my, I'm right here. Check this out. So I'm going like this. I'm going.
Yeah.
Can you hear my feet? Can you hear my feet?
Sure.
So I'm going to go.
I love it, brother. Love it.
So I couldn't play that. And I was like, well, if I don't learn how to play Hot for Teacher, I'm not going to be able to do the gig. So what do? You go look up like a 6-year-old, like Alex or somebody who's playing this stuff.
Yeah.
You go, what are these kids? These kids can play it. Maybe I could learn it,
Troy, my brother-in-law, before I let you go, my brother-in-law has a great Van Halen band called Intruder, and my producer off to my right now, name is John Besser, tremendous drumming talent. He tears that song apart. He tears it up, man. He plays all the Van Halen, and I've learned over the years, even playing Van Halen, Alex was a very, not so much difficult drummer, but sometimes you really had to think about what he was doing,
He, all those things, like I really love the middle section of Jump. And when I learn these songs, when I'm learning these songs, I'm not interested in faking my way through these songs. I'm interested in what he's playing, how I can play every note. That's my goal when I'm playing the gig. So my goal is always, in my own mind, whether I am or not, I've got to be the best at it. Because second is not a good place to be. So. And there's a lot of people that crush this stuff.
Yeah.
So it just continues. It continues to raise the bar. And at any rate, I learned 24 songs. I showed up at sound check and I did 3 in a row with them, and it was a lot of fun.
If you ever get a chance, it's off the 1991 for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. Great album. A song called Pleasure Dome. It is. Listen to Pleasure Dome. I think it's Alex Van Halen's best piece of work ever. It's just. It's amazing. He's doing these like triplet feels throughout the whole song on a bass drum, and then his hands are just a great drummer. But brother, I cannot thank you again, guys. The tremendous Troy Luccketta. Thank you, man. We'll follow you. I'm gonna have you back on the show probably September, October. I'll hit you up soon, man. It's always a pleasure, and thank you once again for educating us, brother.
Well, Joe, you can call me anytime. I'll always be here. I really appreciate you thinking of me and put me on your show. And congratulations with all you're doing.
Thank
and
you,
your
brother.
drummer friend for Alex Van Halen over there, tell him I say peace right on. Hopefully, I can meet up with someday and we can trade some Alex licks.
Yeah, you and John Besser, both great drummers.
I love it.
Thanks, guys. The great Troy Luccketta, man. Have a great night. Thank you, brother.
Peace, man. Love you.
All right, great stuff.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right.
Bye-bye.
I just love when Troy comes on the show and goes, it's great. Thank you, Troy Luccketta. Guys, if you get a chance, hit that like and subscribe button and the notification bell to always help us out. Our first guest coming up. Let's get to a cool video and then bring on the tremendous David Northrup. Let's bring on our first guest of the night, a tremendous player. Trying to get him on, the tremendous David Northrup. What is up, brother?
How you doing, Joe? Thanks
Everything.
for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming on, man. Just love everything you've been doing, and I've been following you for a while. How you doing? What's going on tonight, bro?
Just enjoying a nice, quiet night off, actually, from the road.
Nice quiet night. Oof, beautiful, beautiful. And let's go back a little bit. I like to paint a picture with my guests. We're both New Yorkers. You're from Syracuse, and
Correct.
and I'm from Staten Island. So we're probably about 5 or 6 hours. You're up. You're off of 87, or is that 87? Right.
Yeah, 87. Yep,
Right.
87
Cool.
to 81.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. 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 And so many of my guests, let's try to start where I believe it all happens to us, especially musicians and drummers, in the house. And your mother's love for Barry White with the smooth Ed Green on drums. Was this sort of your earliest musical education, maybe, if you think about it?
Yeah, absolutely. There was always a lot of music being played uh, throughout the house. You know, my mom had a pretty cool and eclectic collection of music, and then I had an uncle, her younger brother. He had a lot of great stuff. Turned me on to Steely Dan and Rush and Alan Parsons Project. Yes, in fact, he was the first one to he was the one that took me to my first rock concert, which was David Gilmour of Pink
Nice.
Floyd.
Yeah.
Yeah. And brothers and sisters, everybody had their own taste in music. And, you know, back in the day growing up, there was 3, 5, and 9, you know, channels. We didn't have cable TV. So you got home from school and you went upstairs and you put some records on your stereo and you listened to music.
I think we are a year apart. You're born in 68. I'm born in 69. 68, right?
Correct. Yep.
Cool. Yeah, brother. Yeah, I remember growing up, my mother would listen to Matt Davis and
Oh, yeah.
Anne Murray. I love John Denver today because of my mother. And I didn't even know it then. And my father was a Sinatra freak. I love Sinatra. But I look back now and my roots go back to metal and rock and everything in between, from Aerosmith to Yanni. But I look back and I say, wow, that was sort of a little hint to me, maybe what to do, because there was always music. Anne Murray, stuff like that, Mac Davis, and the great John Denver. So I think we were educated maybe, and we didn't even know about it.
Yeah. I remember listening to Seals and Croft. And unbeknownst to me, that, you know, the drumming on that was going to be Jeff Porcaro, and one day became one of my biggest influences. And
Yeah.
as you said, Ed Green, all over the Barry White stuff. I remember listening to Jim Gordon on Gordon Lightfoot stuff.
Okay.
You know, just a bunch of great singer-songwriter music that had, you know, amazing drummers, Jim Keltner.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
all those guys.
Let's drums came into your life in the 5th grade, and for the first time you sat behind a set, you were very comfortable playing a groove. Where did that ability come from, and did it come from what we were just talking about?
Yeah, I guess, you know, it was kind of an interesting thing. I could just play time, you know. I had the coordination that was relatively natural. I don't know why. You know, maybe it was, we didn't have a lot of videos back then, so I didn't watch a lot of TV that had drumming in it, but it was just a natural thing. I could sit behind a kit and kind of play time.
Absolutely. You know, we want to get with the right educators, and you took lessons from a variety of great educators over the years. John Dixon, Chuck Silverman, and a man who was very instrumental, no pun intended, who later became a big inspiration to you, the great Frank Briggs. Talk to me about these great educators and mentors and the role they played, and the role maybe they still play with you today.
Yeah, you know, I would say that one of the biggest things about those guys that you mentioned for me were they were really honest. You know, they were good coaches. They were very forthcoming in being honest on what I needed to do.
Right.
There wasn't a lot of smoke being blown, even from a young age. Frank was just one of these guys that, regardless of how accomplished he was, he gave everybody the same time. You know, it didn't matter whether you were a great player or just a beginner. He was just a good dude. He was a
Right.
great, honest, and that's how he is as a human being. Good guy.
I like the word honest because I don't think we get enough of that, even in our playing sometimes. Uh, sometimes we want to become something we're not. I think with you've always tried to stay on course and just give the best David Northrup out there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I am who I am.
Yeah.
And I guess as I've grown as a musician and have had a lot of, you know, fortunate musical experiences, I just have become a culmination of all those things. You know, I play like I play.
Yeah.
You know.
Talk about the culmination and your influences, like all of us, are a who's who in the world of drumming. Everybody from Gadd to Bonham to Keltner to Carlos Vega. And
Yeah.
my favorite drumming name ever, who even you said was very underrated, Barrymore Barlow.
Oh yeah.
Just
Jeez.
great stuff. Have you tried to incorporate a little of these players over the years into your playing and try to mold your own sound?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess, you know, it, it becomes obvious, I think, at times who players listen to,
Yeah,
um, in the way they play. But uh, you know, Barrymore was just such a freight train.
love him. Yeah,
It's
love.
so musical and absolutely underrated. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
I don't know how and why, but I mean, obviously, if you talk to other drummers, you know, drummers that are hip to Jethro Tull,
yeah.
they know exactly who he is. Uh, but yeah, you know, I try to still to this day at 54, I try to be a sponge. You know, I listen to anyone I can learn something from, even some of the young kids that are out there
Oh,
today,
sure.
you know.
Are you a perpetual student?
You know, Joe, not like I would like to. You know, a lot of times being a professional, I find myself spending a lot of time in the practice room
Right.
working on material that I have to prep, you know.
Okay.
I do spend a little bit of time every day behind my kit, playing, fooling around. As far as something specific, uh, practice wise, you know, I don't have a regimen like I used to, which is unfortunate. And
Right.
you know, I sometimes just don't have the time. But, you know, teaching, I have several students that I have on a regular basis, and that actually has been very helpful to me, you know, keeping me try to stay focused and fresh on new ideas and being able to uh, demonstrate and help them implement things into their playing. So it keeps me sharp.
Mentioning these students, and do you find that there's one common ground, one common factor that a lot of your students fall into? Something, that they need more help on?
Shuffles,
Shuffles.
shuffles. A lot of guys come to me, and you know, I am uh, saying this with a lot of grace, not towards myself, because shuffles are very hard, and because of that, I've spent a lot of time playing them, and I think I play them pretty well. But
Mm.
you know, that's a groove that you could work on till the last breath that you have. But I have a lot of guys that come to me and ask me about that, and
Okay.
when I do drum clinics, that's another thing I generally spend a lot of time on.
Do you find in a shuffle, and I'm so glad you brought that up because I've talked about this with other friends of mine, do you find that maybe sometimes if you choke up a little, like I always give an analogy, David Northrup, of when we played baseball on any level, even little league up to advanced, the coach would always say choke up to give you a little more speed. You find that as a common factor and maybe a shuffle, just choke up a little more?
Well, you know, maybe in the sense of uh, a different positioning when you
Right.
play, but with shuffles, to me, it's almost the opposite. It's like really you got to loosen, you got to be loose,
Hmm.
you know. the looser that you are, the greasier that you are, the kind of the better. And then, and that depends on what kind of shuffle you're talking about too. If playing a country shuffle, it's a little more staccato and in the middle of the beat. If you're talking about a Texas shuffle or a Chicago blues shuffle, is a little greasier. And New York shuffle's got a little bit more attitude.
Yeah.
It's the interesting thing about shuffles is, geographically speaking, just in our country, can sort of determine the style and the vibe that you're trying to portray when you're playing.
I think of
Very
that.
interesting.
Yeah, I think of that greasy in your face shuffle like a Frank Beard, a cool Frank Beard shuffle, from like ZZ Top,
Sure. Yeah.
Great
absolutely.
stuff.
Chris Layton from Stevie Ray Vaughan, another
Sure,
incredible
sure.
example.
Yeah. Guys, we were with the tremendous David Northrup, and I thank him for his time tonight. I haven't followed him for a while. First of all, thank you for the CD Shapes, man. How's the reception on that? I'm just really into it. How's the reception been with that CD?
I couldn't have released it at a worse time because it came out in 2020.
COVID.
I had all my companies, Gretsch and Peisty and Evans and Vader. They were all very much standing behind me to do a bunch of clinics to promote it, and then the bottom fell out. But even with that, I was able to do some makeup promotion towards the end of 2020, and surprisingly enough, I was impressed that I sold as many as I did. It's still available. I pretty much sell it mom and pop. People can get it from me direct, and it's available on eBay. It's available on CD Baby. It's also available on Amazon. It's streaming on Apple Music for download. But it's been good,
Yeah. I found that first of all, so smooth at times, so smooth, and the pocket on some of the songs are just tremendous, and I like that. I like that. In my opinion, you took chances at time. You're a world class player. I didn't mean it like that. I like when a drummer takes chances and we're not sure where it's going, I like that with you.
Well, thanks. I didn't set out to just do another drum
Right.
CD that had a lot of drumnastics. That's not the kind of player I am. I wanted it to be something that anybody could listen to and enjoy, and not become exhausted after the first song because there's so many notes. There's a lot of groove, and I think it's obvious by my influences that came out of that. Picaro and David Garibaldi and Gad. Those guys. I've always gravitated to those guys that get just groove. And I just thank God for those guys, right?
Yeah, we had David on last show, and just tremendous. I had him on a couple times. Like you said, groove. He just a groove for an hour. He'll play the same beat, but there's something about it. It's very sexy in a way,
Yeah, and the other thing too is I have to say I had such a wonderful opportunity to meet him and hang out with him when I was out on tour, and he's just such a good dude. So that to me just says so much when you get a chance to meet one of your heroes and they're just like good human beings. He's such a great guy. It's such a just humble.
Yeah.
As it goes, one of the most influential drummers I think that we have in our existence over the last 50 years, and what a just a humble guy.
Let's stay right there because I've had the best of the best like yourself on this show, legends, and we talk about that, and a lot of guys said there's really 3 rules when you want to, get into that circuit and play. You got to be on time, you have to play on time, and you have to be a nice person. Talk to me about those 3 and how I know you always try to implement that in your playing.
Yeah, being professional is, the key to everything. Top notch. You have to be prepared. You have to show up on time, as you said. You have to have good gear. You have to have great communication skills. You have
Hmm.
to do the hang. You have to have somewhat of a personality where you can get along with people. You have to be flexible. It's one of those things when you realize that it's not about you, it's about the music, and it's about serving the people that you're working with, about serving the artists that you're working with, and serving their music. Uh, if you look at it in that perspective, things can change for you. You know,
Hmm.
it's not about what I get out of the music; it's what am I going to do to contribute to the music. And if you have that servant attitude, I think you'll go far.
That's a great word. Yeah, you want to serve the purpose. As an educator, I've asked this before to a couple other drummers, but I just wanted to ask you because we're just talking about this. How you want to be that good person, you want to be respectful. As an educator, would you want to have a crack at this student? Let's just call him. His name is Tommy, and Tommy thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread. He's got an attitude, and he thinks he's the world's best drummer. Would you want to crack at him to maybe bring him back to life and try to educate him, or no?
I was Tommy. I was Tommy, and
Okay.
I had and I hope my first teacher, John Dixon, is listening to this or eventually listens to this because I was a big fish in a little pond, and Mr. Dixon, he wants me to call him John now. Mr. Dixon was very well studied. He went to Crane School of Music, Potsdam, studied with Jim Petersack, and I was the big fish in the little pond. And when I first approached him about studying, he wasn't all that impressed,
Right.
because I had a kind of a chip, and he was never. He was always very encouraging, but he was always very honest, and he kind of tried to let me know in a nice way that kids, you're pretty good, but you're really not as good as you think you are, and
Hmm.
there's so much that you need to learn, and there's so much that you could benefit from by humbling yourself, you know. And it was one of those situations where I found after I studied with John, Mr. Dixon, and went out into the real world, a lot of the things that he was talking to me about and telling me about became very evident. You know, that I wasn't all that.
Right.
You know, it's a very slippery slope. You want to continue. You want to always be an encourager, but honesty is always the best policy. And sometimes a kid just needs to hear it up front. Say, good, Tommy, you're good, but let me tell you, you're not that good.
Right.
There's always somebody better, and uh, a good attitude is going to go so much farther than somebody that thinks he's Mr. Wonderful. You know?
You said you had a chip, and you're honest. What manifested that chip?
I was from freaking New York, baby. Come on, we're both from New York. You
Yes,
know,
sir.
we're born with it. I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know. Probably insecurity, but I was pretty good at my small high school, um, and maybe that chip was there because I knew that I wasn't all that. I thought maybe I was better than I really was. I don't know, but when I got really serious and I started to be exposed to pro players around my area outside of my little town, uh, into like the city of Syracuse,
Hmm.
I could see that there was a lot more going on than I really had the capability of being able to hang with,
Hmm.
and that became a humbling factor.
I actually talked about this with New York drummers. I've had Joe Franco on. I've had Liberty DeVito, Don Famularo, and there is sort of this uh, uh, Carmine Appice. There is sort of this New York attitude in their playing.
Yeah, man. I think it's, there was a thing that I think somebody told me. I think it was Frank Briggs was talking about this. He said sometimes New York players would come upstate to get guys that were a little fresh, more fresh than the guys downstate, and they called it the New York burn. They
Okay.
wanted to go upstate to get guys that weren't really in the scene down there, but they had the same attitude, that could do the gigs, but had just a different, a different vibe. And, being from the Northeast, there is an air that we have in our playing. I think that becomes very evident. There's an aggression, like a controlled urgency. It's attitude, big time. Liberty DeVito is a perfect example of that. That
Yeah.
guy's a badass, and he's just like, here it is in your face, man.
You know, it's funny. Our last show, we had David Garibaldi. My next show, we'll have Liberty DeVito. So it's pretty cool to be. It's cool that you're in the middle of both of them.
Well, I'm pretty humbled and pretty honored. Let me tell you, both those guys are huge influences on me.
Yeah.
And they're both great cats.
Yeah, yeah. How's the pizza in Syracuse? Be honest.
Great. Syracuse?
Wow.
Yeah. Real good. Real good. Well, compared to what it is like down here in Nashville, it's kind of a drag. There are a few places that we have found that are okay. But
Have you-
up there, every corner's got a house that's converted into a brick oven.
Have you been to Staten Island at all?
It's been a long time.
Oh, you've been in there. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, some good
Plenty of
pizza.
Great. Good pizza.
Good pizza here in Brooklyn. It's really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. Was meeting Les Dudek and then playing on his album Deeper Shade of Blue, along with the late great Jeff Porcaro, an early game-changing moment in your early professional career?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was one of those God moments, if you
Right.
will, that, still to this day, if you think about, when I think about it, Porcaro was my hero. And when he passed away, I felt like I lost somebody that I knew. I never met Jeff, but
That connection. Connection.
yeah, his music made such an impact on my playing and who I was as a musician. And then to have that little nugget fall from the sky and become a reality was pretty special. And it was one of those things, Joe, that really sort of, it was one of those little things that gave me I guess I was justified. It made me, I was reassured that I was on the right track. A lot of times as musicians, you can feel like you're lost. You're not really sure if you're doing the right thing.
Right.
Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? And with something like that comes about, I was 24 years old. It was the first time I was ever in a real proper studio.
Right.
And here I was playing with the guy, Les Dudek, and I'm playing on an album with my hero, who's one of the greatest, most recorded drummers of all time. And I'm finishing a record that he started. Give me a break,
It's like you are now relevant.
Yeah, I
Right.
It was almost like, you're on the right path.
So, and I think during the album, did Jeff pass away? That was 92. Jeff passed away, and you said you were 24 in 92. Did he pass away mid-album? How was that?
No, how it went down, I believe, Joe, was Les started the album, I believe, around 1990, 1991. And he never finished the record because Les got called out on the road to go tour with Stevie Nicks.
Okay.
So the album never got finished. So when he finally got around to finishing the record, it was 1993 and Jeff had passed away.
Okay. Yeah.
So there was one song left on the record, and he heard me playing in a club one night and liked how I played, said I sounded similar to the guy that had played on all the previous tracks, and would I be interested in playing on the record? And I said, yeah, sure. And then he told me who the other drummer was, and I nearly fell off my bar stool. It's pretty incredible.
But what you just said, he heard you play one day. Let's talk about that. How no matter where you are, if you're playing in a pub in Ireland and there's 10 people there, or you're playing Madison Square Garden, I think it's always important to stay true to your craft, and because you never know who's there, you never know who's watching, you never know where your chance is going to come.
Yeah. Well, there's only one level of playing is professional.
Mhm.
I don't play better if you pay me $500 or if you pay me $150.
Okay.
I'm gonna play the best that I can. I don't
Right.
have, a rate of, you know, if I'm not going to give you that specific fill unless you give me another $50. It's not like that, man. I just,
Right.
I play because I play, and I'm going to give you 100% every time, regardless of what the situation, regardless of what the pay is going to be. That's me. I don't know any other way.
That's the passion and the lifer in you. You're a lifer in drums. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
great stuff.
yeah.
Guys, the tremendous David Northrup. Just great stuff tonight, man. You worked with some great musicians over the years, and a guy who's just a badass bassist, Anthony Jackson. How was that? How did that come into fruition? And that whole thing. How was working with him? He's just a master.
Yeah, absolute insanity.
Gosh.
Yeah, that was another just, oh my gosh, put a seatbelt on. There was a band here in Nashville called the Blues Zone, and a good friend of mine, horn player from Syracuse named Paulie Serra, he was in that band, and they were in between rhythm sections. And the people that were fronting the band, the leader of the band was a guy named Paul Literal. Paul was from the Uptown Horns, and his wife at the time Lorelei McBroom, was the lead singer, and they knew Anthony from New York. Long or the short of it was, he came into town. He auditioned with the band, not auditioned for the band. He started playing with the band, and I auditioned, and got hired for the job. And it was pretty amazing having the chance to play with Anthony. And the coolest thing about him was, I was very green. I think I was 28, 29 years old, and I was recording myself during rehearsals, and I recorded myself at the gigs. And one of the things he said on our last gig before he left and went back to New York, he was only kind of filling in. And I asked him, I was like, do you have any advice? And he said, keep recording yourself. You'll figure it out, And I did, That was a pretty cool experience with him.
Recording yourself, and a lot of artists do that. What are you looking for? What do you want to see?
Well, with that, think about this back then. It was just like a boom box. There wasn't I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have any of the, incredible resources that we have today. I use a Zoom camera all the time now, and it sounds amazing. But I just had a boom box that I put next to my monitor in the drum set. And I was just really listening and honing in on the relationship between the drums and the bass, and the groove and the feel and the time. This was a situation where there was no click track. There were no in-ear monitors. We were just using stage wedges. So there's a lot of variables in an instance like that,
right,
where you might not be able to hear as well. So I would just really listen to how my groove and my time and my feel was, how I was gelling with the other players.
Yeah.
Anything that I could walk away with and say, hey, maybe that didn't work. Hey, maybe I should have tried this. I was always just very objective and tried to get the most out of every situation. And recording yourself is one of those ways where the tape doesn't lie.
Yeah, I find myself doing videos, and I like to watch. I'll actually watch myself. I'll watch my hi-hat work for 3 minutes. I want to. I think the best thing with me, this month I'm playing 40 years. 40 years of playing. I want to be, the word I want to be is consistent. I want to be consistent. Talk to me about that word, and what's the main recipe every time you sit behind a set? What are you looking for?
I want to play musically. I want to be able to add what is necessary to the music to support the overall objective of what I'm playing. Okay. If I'm in a Nashville singer-songwriter session, I want to play the bare minimum of what is required, um, and allow the vocal to be very present. I want to be very supportive of what parts might be going down, and just really think in terms of, I don't know, the overall musical picture when it's coming to when you're talking about something like that in a studio session.
Yeah.
When I'm thinking about playing live with some guys, it's the same thing. I want to really dial myself in and, be in the music, not just be part of the music. I want to be really in it. Uh, and the consistency thing with me, I think it really comes down to um, having that attitude of wanting to just be real musical, you know, not as flashy as you can be, but
Right.
creative, putting your own staple on things, making it sound like you, but also being musical.
Coming from New York, because we're New Yorkers,
Hmm.
and having that chip early on, how has that been? The whole culmination of your career, uh, 92 is with Les 93. Almost 30 years now in the business. How is that at times where someone has to, maybe you're getting paid for it and you'll say, yes, sir. Or maybe someone says, David, I want you to play this beat, and you're not happy with that beat, but you're getting paid. Does it make you feel like, all right, I'm doing this because for the cause, or is there still something inside of you that maybe wants to hold back and do your own thing? But there's money
Uh,
involved. You're getting paid.
yeah. Um, I try to take the again the approach that it's not about me.
Hmm.
If somebody is hiring me, that's great. That's a good thing. That means I'm still viable in the marketplace. I'm not being overlooked,
Right.
and I have an opportunity to do something that I love for a living and be paid for it on a very professional level. So, you know, um, if I'm being instructed to do something that I wouldn't necessarily do or choose to do musically speaking, and that is something that they really want, then I'll honor that.
Right.
Sometimes, though, the interesting thing is if you allow yourself to be guided and have people give you suggestions, sometimes things can surprise you.
Okay.
Sometimes uh, that thing that you never would have thought worked actually works, and it blows your mind away because you think, wow, I would have never thought of that. And I've had that instance sometimes with producers
Right.
that might suggest something, and you know I would not in a million years have thought to do something that they have made me or requested me to do, and then you get back and you listen to the playback and it was brilliant. So sometimes it can be a good thing to be pushed out of your comfort zone.
But
And then
also,
sometimes you want to strangle the person, say, you're an idiot, you don't know what you're talking about, you obviously don't play the drums, but you know what, you're the one that's writing the check, so I'll appease you.
but
Pay me, let me
I'm
go home.
I'm from New York.
Yeah,
But you,
I got no problem, forget about it. You're an idiot, I'm not. Okay, you got the money, I'll take it.
but what the business has taught you, maybe it wasn't always there, is to be, I think, levelly open minded at times.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's art,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, we are in the, tragically, it's called the music business. I got into this because of the music arts, because I loved artistic playing. I loved, the artistic part of music. But, it all comes down to the fact that we are involved in a business. So, you know, uh, it's an interesting thing. People might call it selling out, but the industry in as a whole, anybody that's involved in the arts and gets paid for it, we're all selling out. I mean, that's part of what we do for a living, to be able to sustain a life being able to do something that we love, you know. So you do what you got to do.
Have you got to play any Barry White live ever?
Oh man, 16th notes, single-handed 16th notes like Ed Green. Heck yeah. Heck yeah, I implement that. And, you know, and that was a Jeff Beccaro thing. You know, he had such a
Yeah.
great 16th note,
Yeah.
but he would credit that to Ed Green,
Mhm.
his flow and his ease of being able to play a single-handed 16th note. Man, it's just beautiful.
Isn't a story with Rosanna? Is that sort of like a little Fool in the Rain from
Oh
Zeppelin?
yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah. That, and then Bernard Purdy,
Bernard. Yes.
the Bernard Purdy halftime shuffle, which I believe Bernard Purdy's birthday was yesterday. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, 80 years old, and Bunny Carlos's birthday was today. I texted him. He's a great dude.
Oh,
Look
cool.
at, hey, that name I just dropped. You could just kick it back to me. I'm dropping names all over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Guys, we've we've been educated tonight. What a great player, and a fellow New Yorker. I got a couple more, bro, and I can't thank you so much this time. Right now you're playing with you're on the road now with Joe Nichols right now.
Correct. Yep.
Talk to us about that, how that came into play, and how's it going with that?
It's going fantastic, man. Joe is probably one of the coolest guys I've had an opportunity to be on the road with. He is just absolute. What you see is what you get. Outstanding band. Everybody plays their butts off.
What?
Just a really well-oiled machine. Everybody in the camp, from the tour manager to all the production guys, front of house, my drum tech, everything is just really, really good. I found out that at the end of last year that Joe's drummer from a long time, for having been with Joe for several years, was leaving the band, and that they were going to be having open auditions. Well, not a cattle call, but they were going to be reviewing some people's video of them playing. And the band leader, great guitar player named Josh Henson, he and I had crossed paths over the years, and I just reached out to him and I said, hey man, I'm not really doing much. If you guys are still taking applications, if you will, videos, if you're still reviewing videos, I'd surely love to put one in the mix. And so they allowed me to put one in at the last minute, and they liked it. I went out and started doing some shows with him, and it's been really good ever since. He's got a new release out, a new CD that was released early part of the year called Good Day for Living, and he's got a single out that's doing really well. So hopefully this gig will have some feet. I might be around hanging out with these guys for a little while. I'm hoping so. They're all good dudes. Good
stuff, man. Is there a genre at this point, 54 years old and just in the prime, just kicking ass right now? Is there a genre that you want to tackle one day that you haven't already, tried?
Man, I love, the music on my instrumental CD. I love that kind of music.
Yeah.
I guess we'd call it fusion. I would be very reluctant to call myself a fusion player, but I really like that kind of communication, freedom of playing. I would love to have the opportunity to do more of that. And anything that brings a challenge. I'm always up for being pushed out of my comfort zone.
Because maybe if Metallica was doing auditions, maybe you'd throw your hat in.
I would be the wrong guy. I'd go to the auditions and make coffee for Pete, or bring pizza. Or bring some pizza by. Yeah.
Dave, man, go ahead.
I'm the wrong guy for that gig. I'd recommend you. You could do it.
Oh, thanks, bro. Guys, we've had a great time with this beautiful human being, a fellow New Yorker. I can't thank you, brother. I have one question, And I've had over 350 of the world's greatest drummers like yourself, and a lot of your friends came on the show. And I've always asked their first time on the show, I've asked every drummer the same question. And we've been honest. I need honesty back now, David. How would you rate this interview, honestly?
Great. Great. It's genuine.
Cool, bro.
You know, two guys having a conversation. And I think that's the most honest way you're going to get a good interview is by just hanging and being honest with each other.
Two guys from New York, about 6.5 hours away. Brother, I can't thank you enough, the great David Northrup. Thank you, man. Good luck with Joe Nichols, and just keep kicking ass. I'll be in touch. We'll have you on down the road again, and I can't thank you for this very intimate time tonight, brother.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Very much appreciate you having me, brother.
You have a great night, David. I'll talk to you soon.
God bless you.
All right, man. Great stuff.
Bye.
Very cool. Great stuff, guys. His album Shapes. I'm gonna put it in my link on my page this week. Just very eclectic at times, and different sounds on there. There's some heaviness, but the fusion, smooth, just a great playing. And I've been trying to get him on, and I thank him so much. We had to cancel a couple times because of certain things, but when you watch him and you hear what he does, the smoothness, you can see that. You can see the Garibaldi in him, and when he wants to get a little nasty and a little dirty, you can see that liberty in. It's just so cool that we mentioned Garibaldi and DeVito, and he's sandwiched in between. Pretty cool. Great CD. You could hear even some Steve Gadd in him, and he's another master of that 16 one hand. I love the story of him on the album with Jeff Pecoro. I wanted to ask him about that. It's just great stuff. So he's just kicking ass, and in that Nashville community. And you see how he speaks. You could tell there's no attitude there. But you know what you get from David Northrup? You get confidence. And you need that confidence as a player. Anything you do in life. If you're a subway musician, if you're a janitor in a school, if you're an usher in a movie theater, you need confidence in what you're doing. And there's great players out there who don't have the confidence. And you could hear it in his conviction and direction in his voice. So we thank the great David Northrup. Just great stuff. Guys, if you'd be so kind to hit that like and subscribe button and that notification bell. Wanted to once again talk about the shows coming up. Next show we have got some great stuff with Liberty and Les Binks, and then we got Joe Franco and Macaluso, and we got the Simon Phillips tribute. Just better shows. But to bring you these shows, we need your help. Subscribe to the channel and let us know. Hit me up on Facebook, message me how you like everything going on, and maybe you want to see a certain guest. Let us know. I'm always up for people we haven't had. So let us know what's going on with you at Around the Kit, and we appreciate it. Guys, it's a time to get one of our new segments, and we've had one on the first show. The guy who kicked ass for many years, the great Doug Miola. Here is the Spotlight Drummer, Doug Miola.
All right, we are back once again with another amazing night of all things drummers, drums, and drumming. Hello, everyone. This is Doug Miola with our new Around the Kit Spotlight Drummer series. Tonight's Spotlight Drummer is Charlie Adams. Born on May 8th, 1954 in Joliet, Illinois, Charlie is a drummer, percussionist, drum engineer, composer, music producer, and film producer. He began playing drums at the age of 13 after he bought a red snare drum for 50 cents at a music store. His first drum instructor in Joliet was Don Willard, and he also studied with Bill Mueller. During his time at Joliet West High School, under the direction of Dean Sales, Charlie was involved with the concert and jazz bands. He has studied with Bob Tiles and Phil Stanger of Chicago and played a concert series with Don Ellis and Stan Kenton while attending college. He also played in his college jazz band, the symphony orchestra, and the marching band. Charlie later moved to Minneapolis, St. Paul, studying with Marv Dahlgren, principal percussionist for the Minnesota Symphony. Some of Charlie's early musical influences include Buddy Rich, the Beatles, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Black Sabbath, and Led Zeppelin. Charlie formed the rock band Chameleon in the 1980s, which included Charlie on drums, vocals, and percussion, Yanni on keyboards and synthesizers, Dugan McNeil on lead vocals and bass guitars, Johnny Donaldson on guitar, and Mark Anthony on lead vocals and keyboards. Their albums included Chameleon, Technicolor, Hologram Sky, and Balance. Charlie became well known for his revolving upside-down gyroscope drum set performances, which rapidly spun him in circular motions as he played his drum solos, a concept that was virtually unheard of at the time.
The beat behind every great band is a drummer. This story is about one of those great drummers, Charlie Adams.
I had a revolving drum set. Yeah, I had this revolving drum set back in 1981, and you'll see from some of the clips that are coming up, there was all kinds of versions of it. We had it on PM Magazine, we had it on MTV.
In 1987, Yanni formed his first touring band to promote his album Out of Silence, as well as selections from Keys to Imagination. The early band included Yanni, John Tesh, and Joyce and Bessie on keyboards, and Charlie on drums. Charlie has been the drum lead for Yanni through 9 major concert tours. The two have recorded 15 albums together, some reaching multi-platinum status, and their music has been used in soundtracks of films, television, and televised sporting events. Adams is widely recognized for his drum solos and is featured in the concert films Live at the Acropolis, Live at Royal Albert Hall, Yanni Live, The Concert Event, and Yanni Voices. Charlie has played with the United States Air Force Heritage of America Band and has been a guest performer in various symphonies and percussion ensembles. He is credited for percussion on the album In the Velvet Night by Dugan McNeil. He is also credited on the albums Hear the Masses and Rapture by Bradley Joseph. Charlie continues to tour, giving motivational talks and seminars in schools and retail stores, as well as conducting drum clinics and private drum lessons. Two of his more well-known students include Jimmy Chamberlin of Smashing Pumpkins and Billy Mason, who played with Tim McGraw for several years. Charlie also runs an online music store and owns a 24-track digital recording studio called Adams Apple Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. In 2004, Adams partnered with the Autism Society of America to increase autism awareness. As part of this effort, he published an autobiographical video, Charlie Adams, Stories and Solos, Life's Journey Through Music, Family, and Autism, which contained videos and clips from Charlie's and Yanni's rock and roll band Chameleon, and told Charlie's story of having 4 children, including 2 autistic young boys, and his family's struggles and hopes for them and for the autism community. Charlie later began co-producing a full-length feature film project entitled Jason's Run, intended to portray the life of an autistic character. I have had the opportunity to speak with Charlie on several occasions, and he is a super knowledgeable drummer and a very kind and humble person. We wish Charlie continued success and happiness as he continues his journey.
Back to Around the Kid with Joe Gansas.
Guys, we are back on the video live stream. Always a great job from the great Doug Miola. We got a tremendous video here of the great Tom Hurst, and then we're going to bring Tom on live.
Around the Kid with Joe Gansas.
I'm still jamming this kick-ass song. Look at the guy right there. That is a cool mother effer right there. The great Tom Hurst. What is up, brother?
What's going on?
Just love this, man. Kick-ass song. And first of all, thank you, brother, for some of your time tonight. One of the nicest guys in the business. You've always given me your time, and I say thank you, brother.
Back at you, my friend. You know that totally applies to you.
Yeah, we get to see each other face to face, man. How you been, man? Busy, huh?
You know, yeah, surprisingly so. I thought I might have committed career suicide last fall when I said I wanted to get off the road, but it's been great. I've honestly really enjoyed it. We're out on the lake today with my boat, which is like right there. So,
Right,
I love
cool.
this. Yeah, so doing that. But how about you, brother? What's going on?
Everything is great. It's our second show on the video live stream. We got great shows, but a guest like you who always bring it, and I always say thank you, brother.
Oh man, I love your lineup. I mean, those are like some of my longest friends in Nashville tonight.
Yeah, great stuff. Talk to me about that song. I always want to get into stuff we just heard. Did I hear a double pedal in there?
Is that the one that I know I'd said a couple videos? Was that the D.A. Carcos, the mouth wide open?
Yeah.
That's the rock one. You know me, I don't get to do a lot of that, and yet that's a big place in my heart. D.A.'s, a New York guy himself, part of our crew of Rochester guys down here, an awesome writer and guitarist, and he was nice enough to ask me. And so that tune, I actually don't have a double pedal. I'm doing some, four tom. I'm
okay, cool.
Terrible with double bass. So, but yeah, that's just some little, my typical, two in the hand, two in the foot, or the single, the Tony Williams, Vinny
cool.
thing.
Yeah. That brings me back to when you, about 8 years ago, just kicked ass on that Van Halen, Alex Van Halen tribute.
Oh yeah, Girl Gone Bad. I love that. I was kind of holding my breath because that tune kind of turns around. I'm such a nerd. I'd like transcribe it. It technically goes to 7/8, but we know
that time change, right?
Yeah, the Van Halen brothers. They're not saying. They just play. They just feel it.
Yeah.
I was like, gosh, please let me not screw this up. So.
Guys, we are joined with the great Tom Hurst, and I always love interacting with him. I want to talk about you, brother. You're doing this for a long time, and the common thread, no bullshit. I never bullshit anybody. It's always real. The common thread with Tom Hurst is great player, even better human being. Why?
Well, that's kind of you, brother. You know how it goes. I don't always feel like that. I'm trying. I feel like you do the best you can. Mm-hmm. But I honestly think, Joe, that there's like tonight, you've had guys on like Rich or Kent, people, Schlusser, people that I look up to as guys that are just, they're always treat people in the best possible manner. Mm-hmm. So that's it. I feel like I've had a lot of good fortune. And I hopefully pay it forward. This last year, I've had a lot of fun getting to know a lot of the cats playing. I've played a lot downtown, Lower Broadway, which I never did before. And there's so many young guys and gals down there that I've never been around. And so I just always try and remember, I'm like, how would I have wanted to be treated, And so hopefully you catch me on the wrong day. Hey, I'm not the best, but I try to like be authentic, like you said, BS, just be grateful, have an attitude of gratitude.
Yeah, we just had the great David Northrup before you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he talked about over the years early on that he had a chip on his shoulder, but he's learned how to work with that. But I don't think with you there's ever been that really chip or that sort of me.
Well, you know what though, buddy, I definitely have had my times. I think Dave, that's really honest thing. And first off, Dave's somebody the guitar player I was playing with downtown yesterday is Dave's longtime bandmate. They do a band called Pack of Crackers, and I play with Kevin Ray, who's a monster guitar player.
Cool.
We're just talking about Dave, and for Dave to say that says a lot, because I remember I used to work for Crew One on the side, and I was hired as a stagehand to set up Dave's kit when he was with Travis Tritt. And at that time I was in Bucky Covington's band, but I'd moonlight around town, so I have a ton of respect for Dave. He's always consistently just genuine, just a good guy. But coming back to what you said and what he said, I was that way in my 20s. I definitely, where I got a healthy dose of I thought I was all that in a bag of chips in my early 20s because I was in this funk band. Well, then we opened for the Roots. This is when they were first coming up in the 90s, and they flew in. and Amir or Questlove used my kid, and he was so sweet, big guy, he was big teddy bear. So, he's like, yo, dog, thanks for letting me use your drums. I'm not gonna need all that. I had the typical, Dave Weckl Vinny, like 810 up and
Right,
the
right.
16 rack. He's like, man, that's cool. You take all that off. I just need your kick, hat, and snare. And he proceeded to mop the floor with me in the next hour and a half.
Man.
He was and just nice as could be. I was just like, oh, so that's what a pro looks like.
Yeah, yeah.
And I definitely had I had a little, thought I was all that. But I mean, I think the chip on the shoulder thing, I know what Dave means. We get, our business, you know how it is. You can be incredibly high, and what's that saying? The devil comes for you when you're up,
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it is. And like you get let go from a gig. I've been there lots of times, and all of a sudden you feel like you're the lowest of the low, and nobody, you don't belong in the business. And I think it's the trick is to be like a Greg Loman or a Jamie Rogan, these guys that are just steady pros, man. Whether they're in a gig, those guys have both kept gigs for a long time. But I've tended to be, Tracy was probably the longest of anybody, and I could still be there. I mean, he was kind of upset with me last year when I said, hey, I really I just got to do something different, boss. And it was not because of him. I love that gig. They were so good to me. I was there 8 years, but that's more often than not, I'd say being in those situations are so few and far between. There's not many of us that get to have a run like Sean Paddock, 20 plus years with Kenny Chesney or Brad, I'm being so dumb. Brad Paisley, drummer. He's a good friend, but I flew out of my brain for a minute.
Ben Caesar. Ben Caesar.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Thank
Yeah,
you,
Ben.
Golly.
Yeah.
Those guys to me are kind of the kings with it. But the other thing about, notice the consistent thread with most all of them, very humble cats.
Sure,
They're not,
sure.
It's not a me show. It's just they show up and just kill it day after day after.
Well, look at Rich Redmond. Oh my God. How many years with Jason?
Well, and and Jack, Jack Sizemore, his bandmate, that's the shaved head guitar player opposite Kurt, and
Okay.
that's Jack's why I'm in Nashville. He's like my big brother. I've been playing music with him since I was like 16 in Florida, and he got me to move from when I was out in California to come back here in like '97. That's why I came to town. I came in his band, which we were signed to RCA. And out of New York. But Rich, the thing Jack tells me all the time, the thing they all talk about, I think you and I may have talked about this, doesn't matter how up, down, whatever the show is, Rich is their hype man. He is the guy they know every day is going to, a big surprise, right, with Rich's energy, but he's going to show up. Rich is never down. Rich is never going to talk bad about somebody. You're never going to, he is the classic example. If he has nothing good to say about you, he's not going to say anything.
Yeah.
I've never heard Rich say a bad thing about anybody. I can't say that for myself. I have a big mouth.
I call him the Energizer Bunny for drummers.
Oh, brother, right? Still going.
So,
and it will be.
Yeah.
And I could imagine anyone else in that chair.
Right.
Nobody would want to have to follow Rich. I don't care how good you are. He's like this entire persona. And again, you know what? Now I will. This is one thing, because if people don't know him, they'll be like, well, man, he thinks he's all that. I'm like, have you ever met Rich Redmond? He is all about everybody else. He helps every young guy. He doesn't care. He just happens to work his butt off and has landed some great gigs that he deserves.
Yeah.
I always tell people, I'm like, yeah, you see that guy playing for Aldine, but I saw the guy that played with like the North Texas 1 o'clock.
North Texas, yeah.
He was like, he's like a Weckl. So I'm a big Rich fan, as we both know. I know you are as well.
Yeah, great guy like yourself. We're just honored to have the great Tom Hurst. But let's get back to you now. What are some of the things right now that you may be working on behind the scenes, or you want maybe one day hope they come into fruition?
No, great question. I'm continuing. I'm really enjoying working at both universities. I'm faculty at Lee University, where I'm, doing the applied lessons. Performance-wise, though, I've actually this year gotten to do more. I got to play for the CMT Awards for the first time in the house band. John Bollinger. That's kind of where my background. I played at Disney and shows like we've talked about, and so I love to read. I like the challenge of lots of new material. So that's I've been doing more things like that. But funny you mentioned about projects, because I'm actually doing a thing with Darren Favorite, our guitarist from Tracy, but he's with Oak Ridge Boys now. Plays with Austin Cucuruto.
Right. Yeah.
And who's a dear friend and awesome drummer. But Darren and I are doing it's kind of Pat Metheny influenced, Robin Ford, like that early Yellow Jackets. And we're, we love, like, who doesn't, like, if you're a drummer or anything, like Paul Wertico, man. I love that cat. And And of course, I've had the luxury. I've been lucky to sub for Danny Gottlieb because Danny and Beth are they're lifetime friends. I've known Beth since I was a kid. She helped me out at Disney. And so that we're doing that. And honestly, Darren and I really have aspirations to kind of get, to get out there and play. He's got some connections to festivals and stuff, but just to start with, we just really want to bring it to fruition. And we have this amazing bass player, Michael Tabrinki, young cat. I mean, so that's kind of my heart's been there. And then really other than that, you're going to find it funny. I mean, this last year or two, Travis, our guitarist with Tracy, the current Travis Newman, he kind of is like major mainstay downtown guy when he wasn't on the road with Craig or with TL. And he's been really helping me just to go deeper into learning tunes. I know it's going to sound funny probably to people that are like, well, you've had all national artist gigs, which I have, and I've been very fortunate. But I didn't know that many songs. Like, if you called up some, I don't know, Hillbilly Heart Attack on me or like a modern pop country tune, I didn't know it. So it's been a lot of fun to go back down that rabbit hole because I tell all my students, like, who do you think play? I mean, when they talk about doing session work,
Right.
What are we listening to? You're listening to a Luke Combs tune. Well, that, I mean, right there, whether that's Chad Cromwell or in the case of Luke, Combs, it's usually Jerry Rowe does a lot of that. I'm like here, or, obviously Near Z is one of the guys I spend a lot of time with. And to that end, Near and I have been talking about doing some educational stuff with him, kind of doing how to on recording and me helping out with the pedagogic side of it.
That's been one of your big, over the years, your go-to, and I wanted to talk because you're a great educator. You're a great conveyor of the thought process, not only in drumming, but in life. Talk to me about the educational and how you're getting deeper into it.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. Thank you. I don't, you know how it is. The more you do it, you feel like the less you know. But because of doing that and working around some of the professors I work with, like Andy Harnsbarger at Lee or Tracy Wiggins at UNA, those guys have forgotten more about legit percussion than I know. And trust me, I did a Nashville Symphony gig last month and was reminded, I'm like, oh, I am a mediocre at best percussionist. But thankfully, I was there for the drum set component mostly, just to play some snare drum otherwise.
Right.
But yeah, that's the thing, Joe. Honestly, it's kind of being a perpetual student. I'm more enthused about that now probably than I have been any other time in my life. I always feel like that each iteration every year. So we're actually my girlfriend and I were just putting the flooring in our new place here in the studio. And so I hope to have this year coming up, I hope to do a little bit more video content. I always have said that, and I've been so lame about it, but I really feel kind of an impetus to do it. And so, yeah, to that end, I've been working a lot on, I'm always on a big Afro-Cuban trip because I love Horacio and Ignacio Brulan.
Right.
I feel like those guys, their approach to drumming, that orchestration at the kit is like so comprehensive. It's much like like a Larnell Lewis, a lot of the modern funk fusion jazz. I'm not sure what category. They just kind of do everything great. Okay. Or, of course, Nate Smith. I'm really knocked out by my students and the stuff they're into. And so I feel like I'm trying to reinvent my own approach in terms of, dexterity, fluidity at the kit. So I spend a lot of time on that. I mean, I think, one of the things I think I've talked to you about in the past, I kind of do my little 4-part learning sequence. And that's really, I'm big on orchestration and rotation around the kit. I'm big on rhythm and rates, coordination foundation. But mostly at the end of the day, man, it all begins with a song. It's that old Nashville saying, but deconstructing. I mean, why do we love a Police tune and the way Stewart interprets versus a Neil Peart, Rush?
Sure.
You know what I mean? And that's, so yeah, that's really kind of where my head's been at of late. And I up until we started this move a month or two ago, I was actually felt like I was playing more and making some progress. I felt like I've kind of regressed a little bit, honestly, on that front.
Tom Hurst, a guy who's so comfortable in front of the camera. Was the camera always your friend?
Oh gosh, I always feel like such a dork. But I mean, no, I guess, Lord knows, as we can tell, I like to talk.
Yeah,
yeah. The guys tease me when I do clinics. I'll have all these bullet points, and then I'll basically, I'll wing it. I just I dig this. I love the interaction. Like, you always ask great questions. I feel like I'm terrible at that. I'll yak about myself all day. So this is awesome. But I feel like I'm not as inquisitive as I should be. That's one of the things I remember the first time you ever had me on the show calling in. I was like, man, this guy asks the best questions. I could talk for a week on one. You're like, no, man, we got like 15 minutes here.
I don't know where that came from with me. I have no background in journalism. I'm a high school dropout, but I think about 5-6 years ago, I just started to get into it. And I think, like yourself, we're a lot alike in ways. once we put our mind to something, we go full blast.
Oh yeah, I mean, look what you've done here. I mean, with just the growth of the show, my gosh, you've had everybody under the sun on, if
Mm.
not multiple times. And
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
Jeff, Wald and I always talk about you.
Yeah,
You know what I
Jeff.
mean? 'Cause I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for Jeff. So shout out to my brother.
Yeah.
Talk about another guy who puts his mind to something that gets done. Golly. I always tell kids, I'm like, hey, let me tell you what you really ought to do. Like, my friend went to Berkeley, he plays his brains out, but also has a business, paid off all of his properties. It's like, he
Yeah.
just plays drums and has fun. And that's, I think, to me, it's, it's like what I love. Your show is all about and you see it with you. That's coming back. You care and you're interested and you genuinely are inquisitive. And I think that comes out in me in the music more. And actually, too, I'm a bit of a nerd about my peers. I love studying what the other guys do. Like Kevin Murphy does it really well. Like he can break it all down, like through Pro Tools and everything. I would rather just kind of dive into the like, hey, what is Kevin playing here? What ghost notes? He teases me because I'm such a nerd. He's like, Tom, just play. I hear you thinking, man. But I'm like, but dude, what you're doing is so awesome and badass. I need to talk about it, and figure it out.
Yeah, how we both have passion. Do you find that in the business, sometimes when you want that proper person conveying their thoughts to you in a respectful, honest manner, do you feel sometimes it's absent in the business?
Oh, sure. We see it. It's why maybe some of us, the older guys, might seem a little irascible in our social media because it can be a little frustrating. You know how it gets.
Yeah.
You talk about Dave, talking about the chip on the shoulder. We meet a lot of young guys who are brilliant players. And, and I say guys, it's gals too, but women are usually smart. Oh, sorry, I've got like 10% battery, so I might have to go charge here in a second. But we were out at the lake. But the one thing that I do notice, and I talk to my students at the collegiate levels, and we did it too when we were their age. It's like, guys, don't be that guy, or again, not really gals. It's usually dudes that are so like, check me out, look what I've done, or look,
Right.
Yeah, man, we get it. Everybody's good, but it's the people that are easy to work with, and I don't care what instrument. And man, I've been that guy, and it's I got let go from gigs because of it. Through my life, I've been fired because, hey, I was being a jerk. I deserve to be fired. And you know what it does? Boy, it humbles you real quick. So that's why I'm saying I think at this juncture, like you said, yes. Do I run into that sometimes? Not too much with musicians as much anymore, though. I genuinely enjoy the interaction with other players and stuff. It's honestly industry people sometimes. And I'll me, I'm at a point in my life, I don't care. Like guys are like, oh, don't say that. You might not get a job. I'm like, please do. I'm 53. This is where I am a little bit of a loose cannon. I'll tell anybody, some middle manager for an artist who's like, I went to Belmont and I don't care. We don't care. You'll come, you'll go. You can hire me, you can fire me. I'll still be working next year. And that is one area I think, that you do see it in all of us. I'm just more vocal about it because I just,
Right.
I say to young guys, don't be like me. I already own a house and do really well.
Right. Yeah.
But yes, I mean, Joe, that's kind of the thing why that is the one area, you say I can be a pill too. I don't suffer fools. And I'm real quick. You've seen me run Drummer Jam or Loud
Yeah,
Jams.
sure.
David, if somebody were disrespectful to parks, I'd be up in them quick.
Right.
But generally speaking, you see how those things are. It's just a bunch of friends, man, and everyone.
Yeah.
No one would be like that. So, that's why I always say you're so kind to me. But trust me, I have my moments where my big mouth, I can be a pill.
Have you found out over the years, Tom Hurst? Have you found out or realized that the business is always a business? Is it always a business to business?
Man, that's a good question because it's not always. Tracy has done things for me. Tracy Lawrence, that is, did things for me he didn't have to do. Let my son come on the road. Let me drive to shows, fly into shows when I was in grad school. That's way beyond the business. You know what I mean? So I would never want to. All the way back to RCA New York, they dropped our band. The band I came to Nashville with in 98, 99. They paid off all of our debt, and they were already into us for about $350,000. It's back when they do these big production records. We did it with Keith Olsen, who did Whitesnake and stuff. And Keith and RCA, they were amazing to us. So I've had some experiences there where they went above and beyond the business. But yes, there are other times. I mean, what's done to a lot of today's young musicians, because so many of the players downtown in downtown Nashville make better money working Lower Broadway than most of us have ever made on artist gigs. I know guys and gals that make, $800 to $1,200 on a shift in 3.5 to 4 hours playing Kid Rocks or someplace. I mean, I've done it. I played 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and made $700. I have never had an artist pay me that much in one show. Now, it's not all about money, but it is the music business. It's not music friends, So, I mean, that when I talk to students, I'm like, hey, it's not that glamorous, but guys, learn songs. The first thing you do, know songs, know tunes across the gamut, 90s country, modern rock. I don't care. Don't make excuses. Go to Spotify, go to it, and get in the top 40. Because players are like, how do I get in? How do I get a gig? I'm like, do you do it by playing tunes? And coming back to the business part of it, this also gives you a little bit more. You've got a little bit more of a toehold in dealing with management companies that are trying to pay you less while artists make more. I mean, they're trying to get kids out on the road for $150 a show. Hey, kids out there, don't do it. It's the standardness in Nashville, and that's so low. People in LA laugh at us, but it really is. The business part of it is the economic finance part of it.
Yes, and Tom Hurst, what has the business over the years taught you about yourself?
Oh gosh, well, I need to talk less and listen more. That did start. I'm sorry, I'm going in here to get my charger because I'm afraid the darn phone is going to die on me. Where is it? There it is. Woohoo! So I apologize for the change of background.
No, we're good. We're good.
But yeah, I would say the thing, Joe, with it that I most notice is I'm just grabbing this charger so I can go back outside. That it's really, if the business has kind of taught me anything on that front, is to try and do your very best to be supportive of everybody else, be a good team member. I mean, I'm a total kind of loner when it comes to a lot of things. You'd probably be surprised by that, but I really do kind of keep to myself on some things. And, and I'm always the guy trying to get everybody together to do stuff, shows like Drummer Jam and things like that.
Right.
What I've learned from my peers, it's not about me. It's about be supportive. That starts with your playing. The compliment I've always gotten from people playing was a lot of my friends are like, man, you've got like big ears. You really can tell you're listening. Like vocalists always tell me that. They're, and I've had lots of people who do not like my drumming, too dynamic or too up and down. I've had soundmen that don't like that, but the singers and stuff usually do because they're like, man, you're so aware of that kind of thing. Well, I try and extrapolate that out into the other facets of my professional life. Sometimes not as well as I would like to. Like I say, there's guys on the road who are way better what we would call a hang. I feel like, I'll say like a Greg Lohman. I always point Greg out. He's just so consistent. He's such a great guy. You'll never see I've never seen a bad day with Greg. He's just a pro. And so that's kind of in the business. If anything, I'm trying to be more like my peers. I'm still learning, trying to be, you know what I mean?
You're still learning. Yeah. Just, I've had Greg on twice. He's just a great guy, Greg. Oh God.
Yeah. Great teacher. Phenomenal drummer. I mean, putting it, lay it down, because I think we talked while I was doing the Easton gig when I was subbing when David Black got hurt.
Okay.
And I was on the Kerry tour. Well, Greg's been now doing the Easton gig ever since pretty much, because I think David came back for a little bit, but he does so well in town, and it just made more sense for him to do Phil Vassar because they don't have to travel so much.
What happened to you, brother, at the Steve Smith thing? You were bleeding. Remember you came over with me? You were bleeding. What happened that night?
Yeah. Oh gosh, so you remember that Steve was nice enough to send that kid, and here I am playing, and they said don't change anything, and now I'm bleeding on his drum set. I'm like, oh no, I think I'm playing for Dish. I was all excited because I love Steps Ahead. Step Ahead, in Japan. I love that stuff. And so I'm all excited because I'm playing. And then, I forget who was there too. I was absolutely showing off. This is classic. I knew who was around me. So it was, I'm being stupid. Jerry, that used to be head of Pearl, who's head of Mapex and Sonar now.
Okay.
He's standing right off to the left of me with all the Pearl, higher ups. And, of course, I'm like, I'm going to get it done. So what do? I smack my knuckle or something early in the song, and I got blood flying everywhere. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was great. What's up with those Nashville drummer jams? What's going on with them?
That's a great question. Parksy and I, ever since, it's probably a familiar refrain since COVID. But I think both of us had kind of burned ourselves out on those things because I was doing my Loud Jam shows. And I think I was at like show 46, 47.
Right.
And so and in that Drummer Jam, I think the Nico, the last one we did, the McBrain one, that was, I want to say it was like the 11th show or something. And I think both of us were just kind of, and Chris Nix, our buddy that, is MD. I mean, he's the one doing a lot of the heavy lifting, actually putting the music together. And so it was pretty taxing. I just think we've kind of all fallen into life again, since
Sure.
COVID. And
Yeah.
and the other thing too, Joe, with all the growth here in the building downtown, a lot of venues have been closing. So
Okay.
like they just closed Cannery and Mercy Lounge. Those are done. Like where we
Right.
you did the show.
Yeah.
And that's making it now. Basement East is fantastic. Mike Grimes over there and their whole staff, they've been great to us. But if we were to do it, I know David and I have talked a lot. Now, it's no big secret because I think he's talked to him about it. We really love if we do one at some point, we'd like to do a tribute to Troy Luccketta.
Oh, cool.
Tesla, because that's David's like favorite drummer. I mean, Troy's his absolute hero, and I love Troy. It's just the one you talk about great people, and that's so. If we do, that'll probably be the next one. I mean, I let the cat out of the bag, but I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know when we can. His band's doing real well. That Resist and Fight.
I gave. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I actually gave Dave a suggestion years ago. Billy Joel, Liberty DeVito.
Oh yeah, no, I know from when I lived in Orlando. He's great.
That'd be cool to do him. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is we'd like to do guys, like and I mean, God rest his soul. It was cool to be able to do the one that we did. I'm being so stupid, Mr. Big with Pat.
Yeah.
I mean, and obviously I know he was a huge influence for David and for me. I was less of a Mr. Big fan. I was a huge Robert Plant solo project fan.
Was Billy Sheehan at that gig? Did he come
Yes,
down?
yeah,
Man.
Yeah, I got to play with Billy, because Billy's living here in Franklin now. I believe it's Franklin. He's somewhere in South Nashville.
Yeah.
I think back then, Ray Luzier kind of helped us get him involved, and now Billy. I think Billy and Chris, Nick's, they're real good friends. They do a lot of stuff together, and
Yeah.
so there's, and that's the thing. It's like it's so weird to me. Like I mean, you gotta understand. There's the little kid in me, man. Near is one of my heroes. Ray's a guy I've always looked up to.
Yeah.
It's weird to have them as your friends. I when younger guys talk to me and like, man, you know him? I'm like, dude, trust me, I'm right there with you. I'm still kind of stunned that I can call that guy up and be like, hey man, what's going on?
I probably text Dave Weckl 3 times a month and I pinch myself.
Oh, dude, and that's everybody says that about Dave, how gracious, awesome he is.
Awesome,
Like,
yeah.
There's talk about a guy and I really don't even need to bother him because I still can't even work. I've had that original book of his, with all the charts.
Right.
I use it still for my students for juries at North Alabama, excuse me, at Lee. And I mean, I'm like, I've barely scratched the surface of some of his concepts. I'm like, I don't need to bother you for a lesson, Dave. I can't even get through this.
Oh man, brother, I say this with passion and conviction. It is always so enlightening, and I'm just I got goosebumps just by talking to you, man. You just something about you, brother, just always it makes me feel good.
Well, Joe, thank you, brother. Hopefully it really goes the same way back to you, man. I mean, you're so gracious with all of us, and you've been incredibly good to me. So I'm honored. I'm like, man, you want to have me on the show?
Oh, absolutely, brother.
Thank you.
I love it. What are we doing now to not only educate the young and people who want to get educated, but what are we doing to better educate people?
Well, gosh, I think that question can kind of be turned around on ourselves too. Is that I feel like we have to be listening to the young players.
Sure.
They're educating us. I mean, when you look at what's available through Instagram,
yeah,
I can't I keep up these YouTube links for my students because I create outlines and I'll plan for my next 14 weeks of the semester or whatever. And I can't I can't scroll down YouTube or Instagram or whatever without going, oh gosh, I got to save that. Oh, so to answer the question though better, I feel like hopefully, and where at least to me, it seems like a lot of today's educators and people involved. Well, first of all, more people are getting involved in drum and percussion education. It's specifically applied drum set. And I think, there's, of course, you can always have guys go, man, at the end of the day, you just got to be able to groove. Well, yeah, that's true. I don't disagree. Fundamentals are there. But it's what's wrong with studying our instrument and our craft for, if I'm a great welder, I mean, I can still learn other techniques. It's the same thing in every vocation. So I don't feel like I'm in the position to give you some broad strokes on, well, here's what's happening across. But what I do see is I'm inspired by all the guys and gals that do the a lot of the Instagram education, like an Orlando drummer or,
Okay.
I'm friends, I'm buddies with Steve, Steven's Drum Shed. I've always admired Mike, what he's done, with Mike's lessons. I don't know him at all, but it's just, I feel like they've set a new bar of access so that a student, like you can say to a student, hey, look, man, you don't need to, and I mean, sometimes we're cutting our own throat in the private education side of like, hey, you don't really need to come to the X number of lessons. Let's get you started over here. And then let's have you take lessons with purpose, or if you're going to go to college and,
Right.
Actually focus on this. One of the things I always tell them is, hey, make sure to diversify. In this day and age, your playing is only so important. I mean, you got to be able to play. I can see my friends' heads spinning hearing me say that, but that's a given. What I'm saying is you better make sure you've got entrepreneurship. You've got to have good fundamental economic understanding. Like, hey, start, saving money and investing. And then I say this, Joe, and you go down and I'm going to throw a name out there. I don't think he'd mind. He's a good friend. Jack Thomas Ankenbrook. You ought to have him on the show sometime. He's like Jack's probably 26, 27.
Okay.
This dude and his wife are so far ahead of the game. I mean, I learned, like, when I'd come play Lower Broadway, I used one of his playlists to learn a lot of the material that, like, you absolutely got to know because it's going to be called up, requested again and again. And Jack hustles so hard. He's involved in so many things, plays great, of course, like did a minute. I think it was Berkeley he went to, and he realized, he's like, man, I can save my money and come over here. Sorry, Berkeley people. But he just realized, he was like, I just want to get in the mix and work in Nashville. And that's what he's done.
Yeah.
And I say kid because I'm an old man. He worked about 250, 260 dates a year. And of course, goes out with young artists, but he's doing everything I tell my students they need to do. He just got himself in the mix at like 21. But point being of all that, the educational component, he's a sponge, man. He's always like, he'll drill me, like I'll play with him and he'll be out front singing instead of playing drums. And he'll come back and, and just ask me questions about what I'm doing or something. You can just see the wheels turning. And so I feel like what we have to do as educators is to make sure we turn it around to them and go to today's generation of players.
Sure.
And stay hip to what they're into, what they're doing, whether that's in metal, funk, soul, jazz, whatever. I mean, the jazz guys, right? All those crazy, I've been loving digging Grayson, Nick Rootman for the last 4 years, for as long as he's been putting videos out. But like, there's just, every time I turn around, there's some amazing young guy with like jazz. I mean, he's playing like exact Elvin Jones stuff with it transcribed, and I'm like, this is amazing. I'm loving it. I wish it existed when I was in my 20s,
Yeah. Tom, just kick-ass stuff, man. Again, and I can't thank you enough, brother. I just always love the interaction, and thank you once again for coming on and making Around the Kit a better place tonight.
Hey, brother, thanks for all you do. I'm honored to be part of it.
Guys, the tremendous Tom Hurst. Brother, I'll talk to you down the road. Have a great night. God bless, man.
Stay in touch, Joe. God bless you, my friend.
Thank you, man. Great stuff. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Guys, the great Tom Hurst. Just tremendous. Always brings it. I am always grateful. Guys, let's get to our next segment. The last one of the night. She kicks ass, the great Laura Pepe Altieri. It's This Week in Drum History.
This week in drum history.
This week in Drum History, we feature the only Beard in the band without a beard. He was born June 11th, 1949 in Frankston, Texas. Happy birthday to the hard-rocking drummer for ZZ Top, a true Texan, Frank Lee Beard. In addition to his cowboy hat and boots, Frank wears many hats. He's a scratch golfer, a rancher, an auto racer, a husband, and a father of 3. He's a multi-instrumentalist who can play the saxophone, the trumpet, and the tuba. Beard attended Irving High School in Irving, Texas. Like so many other musicians, he was impressed with the Beatles, especially the reaction they had gotten from the girls in the audience. So much so, he took up the drums just to impress the ladies. Matt Jones, a.k.a. Frank's Weird, the drummer for the ZZ Top's UK-based tribute band, beautifully describes Beard's drumming in an Ultimate Classic Rock article. He said, "No one holds down a cut shuffle better than Frank Beard. His ghost notes and creative accents blend seamlessly to form the nicest feel. Frank's drumming is all about the feel and the groove. He can hold down a groove and swing the tempo just so to give a song that famous ZZ Top feel. It builds, it drops, and goddamn it, it rocks. We spent some time trying to add to his words, then realized everything that needed to be said was already there. Hats off to Frank Beard and the little old band from Texas who reinvented the blues and owned their unique sound. ZZ Top's musicianship and loyalty to their roots gave them the tools needed to brilliantly adapt and evolve over the years without altering the foundation of their sound. In the 80s, ZZ Top discovered synthesizers and MTV discovered ZZ Top. Their fan base broadened to include rock, blues, boogie, disco, and new wave lovers alike. It quickly took them to a well-deserved level of superstardom. My generation was the MTV generation, and we all visually connected to ZZ Top's long beards and fur-lined guitars. Their humorous lyrics and flashy music videos showcasing sexy legs, hot rods, sharp clothes, TV dinners, cheap sunglasses, and tush were entertaining and a pure joy to watch and listen to. Still going strong for more than 4 decades, ZZ Top's unique look and boogie blues rock style puts them atop on my list of the coolest and baddest kick-ass trio of nasty dogs and funky kings that ever assembled. ZZ Top was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2004 and has produced 11 gold and 7 platinum records. Rock on, ZZ Top.
Guys, we are back. A great job by Laura Pepiateri this week in drum history. Just great stuff. She's kicking ass. Doug Mule, another spotlight drummer. Just trying to always bring the best show and the best passion. We got to thank our tremendous producer at large, the guy bringing everything together, the great John Besser.
Help me.
Always kicking ass, John Besser. Great job as always. We have some great shows coming up, but our next show is in 2 weeks, and I've called it the Legends Show. Liberty DeVito, just the working drummer, just a tremendous legend. Liberty DeVito and the great Les Binks. Guys, thank you everybody for tonight's show. The great Troy Luccketta for coming on. Just great stuff with him. The newcomer, the freshman to the show, David Northrup, just kicking ass, and Tom Hurst just bringing it. I think he had everything charged. He was just great tonight. Thank Doug Miola, Laura Pepiateri, and once again, John Besser. We will see you guys 2 weeks, June 26th on Around the Kid. Thanks, guys.